Okay, so we're gonna continue with chapter whatever 11. Uh, we left off on identifying specific anxiety disorders, and we're starting with the category. Uh, I'm sorry, specific mental disorders, and we're starting with the category of anxiety, right? So I said that you should know what generalized anxiety disorder is, and that's just chronic, moderate levels of anxiety that's identified with by feelings of worry and dread. You're apprehensive to do things and so on. There are some genetic predispositions to anxiety disorders, but also our experiences. Um, so stress, traumatic events, that kind of thing, whether they be chronic or early in our childhood or, you know. Now, moving on with another anxiety disorder is panic disorder, in which a person experiences recurring panic attacks. This is where you have intense fear, feelings of impending doom or death, and that physiological arousal, rapid heart rate, dizziness, sweating. It may come out of nowhere, but often it occurs in response to extended stress, prolonged emotions, specific worries, or frightening experiences. And these will happen weeks later. May happen days later, but up to weeks later. May happen months later. So whenever I think about panic attacks, I always think of one of my aunts. And my cousin, when he was 16, he died from alcohol poisoning. And it wasn't her son, it was her nephew and my cousin. But anyway, at the funeral, when he was being laid to rest at the actual cemetery, uh, she had a panic attack, and they had to call an ambulance and all this other stuff. My aunt's always been really um, sweet. Oh, here comes Koku. So we're gonna pause here, and then we're gonna make some cheese faces, and then we can just move on. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, Koku, we've been waiting for you for this.
Good
Seriously,
morning.
we've been waiting for you to take our picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
For-
We all agree that you have probably, well, at least maybe I
Okay.
should speak for everybody, but Connor and Skylar, can you take your cameras off? Just please, or you don't have to, but I'd prefer it. Connor, McCormick, let's see if they do. Dirty dogs. I really don't want to have like blank screens. Connor, this is what they do. They get on and they go back to sleep.
Yeah, you're like a George Foreman. You can just set it and forget it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Connor. You're the man. Okay, Skylar, come on. Connor had to find his hat.
You look wonderful, Hammer.
Oh, thanks.
Stop messing with your hair.
I don't know if I've
You're
ever
all
even
right.
seen Connor. Connor, what town do you live in?
Malone.
Malone.
Yeah.
Really?
Huh.
The only time I go to Malone is when my kid has a hockey game there against the Huskies.
Yeah,
Are you almost done?
I'm not almost done.
Maybe another hour?
Maybe.
Okay.
And then you got a Zoom meeting too.
Mm-hmm. Watching the sentence still.
Okay. Well, Skylar's a dirty dog,
Oh,
so
What?
we're gonna go on without him. As soon as Hammer's done, take your time. It's
Not
okay.
right
It's
now.
fine. Take your time.
okay.
We're not in a rush.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. So first, what I want to do for fun is I want you to grab the nearest thing to you that you're willing to share and show. Oh, I gotta find something. I can do this. It's kind of big, but
Oh, I got an idea. Be right back.
I'll go
There you go. I wish I had one of those.
There we go.
There you go, Bob.
Mm.
Gotta make sure it's in the thing here. Okay,
Can
Tosh,
you play that?
that works. Good. Got some what?
Oh, I like that.
Bose something? What is that? Bose speaker?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you ready? And cheese. Coco, where's your thing, man?
Good. That's good.
You got to pick up something next to you and show it.
Oh, something.
Yeah, anything that's next to you.
Anything.
Oh, anything.
Anything at all. Yep.
Okay. What the hell?
He's like, I ain't got nothing. Even a remote control, a
All
bulb
right, I'm gonna grab this.
candle.
Okay.
I got
Okay.
a cup exactly like that too, by the way.
What is that, Coco? Oh,
Oh,
router or something?
it's a firewall. I'm working on it.
Okay.
The
All right.
network device.
Okay. All right. So now we're gonna cheese again. You ready? And cheese. Okay, good. Now let's do. Okay, just two more things. Just two more things. You, one of you come up with the idea this time. What's something that we could do?
Funny poses.
We could do funny poses. I guess. We could do gang signs. Anybody know any gang signs?
Oh yeah, deuces.
Deuces, triples, W's. All right, let's just smile. Caleb, you dirty dog. All right, you ready?
All right.
Let's just
Yeah.
smile just for real and then pretend like we're having a good time. Ready? And
All
this is great, isn't it? Smile, cheese. Look at Sage. Okay. All right, that's good. Now we can go back to the class. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right. Now, let's get back to more depressing things. Next. Okay, yeah, good. Okay. Now, another kind of anxiety disorder is a phobic disorder. So essentially, a phobia is it's an irrational,
Oh, I got that.
unrealistic, or irrational fear of a specific situation, a specific activity, a specific object. And some of our phobic disorders or phobias are easier to
You
acquire
better put a shirt on because my camera's on.
I know. I'm
because
not
they're
going to.
related to evolution. And how is this? If you think about it, what are the most common phobias? Fear of what?
Claustrophobic.
Spiders,
Why?
Spiders. Spiders is one, and what's another one?
snakes.
Snakes, exactly, right? Spiders and
Clowns.
snakes.
I'm not afraid of them.
Well, good. Then you should come to everyone's house and kill them because,
I have a fear of dark water.
okay.
Pretty common fear. Clown. I'm not afraid,
Clowns.
but I know a
It's
lot.
irrational, but it gets
Yeah.
me every time.
I'm afraid of balloons,
You're afraid of balloons?
of popping of balloons.
Popping them. Ah. Yeah. That tension before the loud abrupt. Yeah. I'm afraid of setting mouse traps. But I don't think that's unrealistic or irrational.
No, it's not. You don't know how many times I got whacked by those things.
Yeah, it's scary. And I feel like every time I put it on the floor, I'm gonna set it off, you know? Anyway, okay. So the reason why some we acquire easier, like specific animal phobias, spiders and snakes, right? Is because our ancestors many years ago, thousands of years ago, those are real dangers to us, right?
Clowns were a danger to us.
Spiders and snakes. So these specific animal phobias like spiders and snakes are more common because our ancestors they they actually had to deal with spiders and snakes out in the wild on a regular basis, and it really was dangerous. So what we did is we developed this ability to acquire a fear for them to avoid.
I actually remember this. I thought this was kind of an interesting thing from you're okay. I know you're gonna say, "Oh, you and your movies."
Is it a movie again?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
there was this horror movie from the '80s called "Killer Clowns from Outer Space,"
Yes.
where like alien clowns came back down to Earth to eat people.
Yep.
And there's a scene in it that implies the clowns came to Earth in prehistoric times.
Oh.
So the idea is that,
Oh.
so the idea is that the fear of clowns comes from our fear of these aliens.
Oh, look at you. That's the most contributing thing you've ever said in this class, Caleb.
Jared.
I'll tell you what, all joking aside, that is a very, very good use of applying material. That's a very good example of it, Caleb. So we call this biological preparedness or evolutionary preparedness.
What is it now?
But
Bio-
biological preparedness or evolutionary preparedness.
Okay.
And so the reason why we use biological and evolutionary interchangeably because our biology today is the result of evolution. So it's kind of like synonymous. So what it means is that we have a predisposition. We are prepared to develop these phobias easier. So some have what are called social phobias. They become extremely anxious in situations and when they're observed by their others, like eating in a restaurant, speaking in public, performing in front of an audience. It's very common. Public speaking, very, very common. The fear of it. Agoraphobia. These are recluses. These are people who stay in their house because they're afraid of having a panic attack. Has anyone ever seen that show? Here you go, Caleb. This is for you. Has anyone ever seen that show? Oh, what's it called?
Monk.
No. William H. Macy is the father. Joan Cusack is the mother. These are the actors.
Trying to think.
It's like Lip is the son's name. One of them. Oh, come on, you guys. It was a really popular show on like HBO or Netflix. It was on Netflix. All of them were on Netflix, the series. Come on. Well, anyway, the character of the mother, she has agoraphobia. She won't leave the house. But she overcomes it.
Pretty sure it's Shameless.
Thank you. Was that Connor?
Yeah.
That's two. That's twice he's shown his face and he's spoken now. This is incredible. Shameless is the name of the show. Have you ever seen it, Connor? And we lost him. That's it.
I imagine he did.
And he's gone.
Yeah,
I gotta watch that.
it's pretty
I'm kind
popular.
of curious.
It's now another anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is a disorder in which a person who has experienced a traumatic or life-threatening event and has symptoms such as psychic numbing, like being numb, reliving the trauma, hallucinating, and that fight or flight response. Now, it has to persist, these symptoms, beyond a month, or at least a month. Because otherwise it's just normal response to a traumatic event. Now, these may or may not immediately follow the event. Today is such a weird day.
It is. There a full moon out tonight?
I don't think so, because we just had one. So what are some things that could predispose someone to developing PTSD?
My motorcycle accident.
Or so it's an experience, right?
Yeah.
Right. But there are people who have experiences who don't develop PTSD. So why is that? Well, people with who do acquire PTSD from a traumatic experience, sometimes they have smaller hippocampi. An area of the brain is slightly smaller. Or these people may have a history of psychological problems. Or these people lack social, psychological, or the neurological resources needed to even avoid the traumatic experience. So if you think about it, when Bob had his accident, it wasn't because he was, intentionally putting himself into that situation. Some people, okay, so what do they tell you to yell if you're being assaulted in some way?
Fire.
Fire, right? People run to fire, right? But they don't. The people are less likely to run to someone yelling, "Help! I'm being stabbed," or "I'm being, raped."
Rape.
Yeah, right. So people will run
That's
to fire.
bad.
Yes, it is. So if someone yelled out, "Help! I'm being, attacked," or "I'm being, stabbed," if someone does run to that into that situation, they are different than the average person, and they're kind of putting themselves into dangerous situations that most of us wouldn't.
I would.
Well, it's not to say that it's wrong, but most of us would run from or call for help or do something. Yeah, Bob, do you have any kids?
No. Well, I got
You
a
want some?
son.
I got a couple I'm looking to offload today.
I got a son that I don't really.
Stop
I haven't
eating.
seen him in probably 26 years, but
Okay, but you don't, right? Okay, understood. I think that once I had my first daughter, and I have three daughters, it kind of changes you as a male. You um, it would be nice if it didn't take that, but you have a deeper respect. Also, being married, I generated a deeper respect for women, and not just respect. That's not what I mean. I mean a deeper understanding for the things that they go through. Because without being a woman, I hadn't known, honestly, what their everyday lives entailed, the requirements, their roles.
what would you call, Jared, a person like me that has fear? I love women, but I have fear of approaching women.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
how some guys can walk up to a girl and say, "Yo, you want to go out to dinner or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I get terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Probably rejection is
Mm-hmm.
probably the reason, but
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that, Bob. Your situation is more normal than not. There are more people, men and women, who are more hesitant to approach than there are people who are interested in approaching. So it's what we call it is normal. Obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, what I want you to know is that the idea behind obsessive compulsive disorder is that you have these persistent thoughts, and these are the obsessions. And in order to get rid of those thoughts, you have to do something, and that's the compulsion, right? So every one of us has some small little obsessive compulsive thing about us, and it may be, well, I can't sleep unless I check the oven, or I can't sleep unless I check the doors are locked, or and if you do it repeatedly, right? If it's like a thing that you really can't sleep unless you check the oven, um, it might be a little quirk of yours. But people who have real obsessive compulsive disorders, it gets in the way of their everyday living. And they even know, right? They acknowledge the ritual behavior being senseless, but they know that the only way to get rid of those anxieties, the thoughts, is to do something. I have to knock on this 4 times. I have to. If I don't, then something bad will happen. So the behavior, the compulsion, relieves the individual from anxiety mounting. Yeah. What do I have to do today? See, Alex and James have practice for. Oh,
Well, mine's carpet. If I see a piece of dirt on my carpet, I got to vacuum.
that's not
mean-
necessarily obsessive compulsive. That might be just high cleanliness. We would call that anal retentiveness.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The anal part sounds pretty right.
Yep. Okay, so now we're going to move on to mood disorders. And first of all, you should know anxiety and depression are best friends. They are highly comorbid. Usually people who are diagnosed with an anxiety disorder are also diagnosed with a mood disorder, usually depression, because the anxiety makes them depressed. It's like, I can't stand this anymore, right? So major depression, a mood disorder involving disturbances in emotion, which is excessive sadness, disturbances in behavior, which is a loss of interest in one's usual activities, a disturbance in cognition, where you have thoughts and feelings of hopelessness, and then disturbances in body function. It could lead to fatigue, loss of appetite, and this lasts for at least 2 weeks. This occurs twice as often in women as men.
Why?
Yeah, why? There are two questions in the why. Why? Well, really, one is how, and the other one is why. So, what we found is that, let me see something. Is on the next slide? Yeah. Okay. So what research has found is that women produce 52% less serotonin than men on average. Serotonin is what makes us feel content. Serotonin is what makes us feel happy, for lack of better words, not sad. So what the heck is that about? Why is that? As in, if we see it universally, that women are producing less serotonin than men, a significant percentage, 52% less. That means they have less than half of the serotonin men are producing. Universally, cross-culturally, globally. There has to be a reason for it. There has to be a purpose. There has to be a function. Nope. We don't understand a thing you're saying. Tosh, you're going to have to type it up. Yep, still going. We understand none of that. Even though her mic is muted, it's so delayed and it's so wonky, it's still going. So she knows that it's not working. You could try typing it. One thing we've learned a long time ago, Tosh, is you're not allowed to talk in this thing at all. It won't let you, which is too bad because you have things to say. So you could try typing it, but the audio is not working at all. Again, I'm sorry. And I will share whatever you want to type if you want or whatever. So while Tosh is typing it up, does anybody have a guess as to what function this could serve? I mean, what's the ultimate goal? What's our goal?
I couldn't even begin to think of why.
Well, go more general. What is the goal? What is our goal?
Reproduction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, to survive as a species. And the only way to do that is to make more of us, to reproduce. So somehow this had to have aided in reproduction. How the heck is that? How is that working? See, if you put all the things that you all know together, especially the women, if you put all the things together that you know, you would solve the problem. You would solve the riddle. So I know I can hear Hammer. So Hammer can feedback. Tosh can write in. Um, and any other ladies that hear me and want to participate in the class may also. But Tosh, I mean Hammer, when do you think women are in their best moods?
And no comment.
No, but you're right. Okay, so they're in their best moods. Um, when are when
Are we going to hear the reason why or when?
yeah,
When
we
are
know
you in
the
your
answer.
best mood?
We know what she was saying, but there's something
I
surrounding.
don't.
Yes, you do. There's
After
something.
fornication, Bob.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
You-
right. So when are women likely to fornicate?
When we're feeling
And when are
Depressed.
you feeling? And when are you feeling like that? When are women feeling like that?
when we are enticed.
Okay.
Um,
And when are women most enticed? Let's see. Ovulating is correct, Natasha. Tosh. During the ovulatory phase, right? So during the ovulatory phase or during ovulation, women have a surge, a massive load of estrogen being dumped into their blood. Estrogen binds to serotonin receptors. It improves their mood. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So if women are depressed more than men on a regular just a level throughout their entire cycle, but this 3-4 day ovulatory window in their cycle is the only time. Is that why women who have hysterectomies are less sexually aroused? Yes. Yes. Because or feel less sexual. Yes. Tosh is asking, is that why women who have surgical procedures done, like hysterectomies and things like that, or ovariectomies, because they're not releasing those sex steroid hormones? That's correct. You can take hormone replacement drugs for that though. And you should too. If a woman has a hysterectomy, she should have replacement therapy. But anyway, so here's what happens. Now you have to think about how this benefited our ancestors. So here's what happens. A woman, or I should say a female, because they might have looked very different. They may have not have been, human-like. A female is not in the mood sexually. She's not really in a good mood. And so she's not in a good mood sexually, or she's not in her peak sexual mood until she's ovulating because of that estrogen that's being released. It both binds to the serotonin receptors and it also has impacts in the hypothalamus where there are receptors for estrogen. So what this does then is it limits who she engages in intercourse with, and then also like it narrows it down to a window where she's willing to do it or wanting to do it, seeking it. Also, once she does it with someone, she'll get pregnant eventually. And now what basically has happened is she is limited to that one individual. That one individual is going to be the source of her happiness now. She's going to associate that individual that she had sexual intercourse with as the source of her enjoyment. So what did that do? It kept us monogamous. It kept women monogamous to men. Because if women were more promiscuous, or if the female of our species were more promiscuous, men wouldn't know if the baby was theirs or not. The males wouldn't know, and so they wouldn't offer their resources to raise it. And that's exactly what women, or the females, needed. Remember, this is thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago. So now it's a little like off now. We don't need this stuff. Just like we don't need pubic or axillary hair. We don't need those things anymore. But our ancestors used them as signals of readiness to mate, both a visual signal and an olfactory one through pheromones. But we don't detect pheromones anymore. We evolved out of it. But yet we still have these visual signals.
We don't?
We don't detect
We
pheromones.
don't?
No, we lack what's called an accessory olfactory organ, also known as a vomeronasal organ. And we evolved out of that thousands and thousands of years ago. Other animals still
I
do.
wish I still had that.
You don't need it. That's why we can talk. We can.
Well, I'm afraid to.
Well, if we, yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, I see your point. Because you can detect whether or not she was in the mood. That's true.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we use. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I get it. That's a good point. All right. So what are the symptoms of depression? Oh, you know what? I just glossed over something. Hold on. So in addition to a biological cause that women have, right? So when it comes to rates of depression diagnosed, women are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with depression. It's not just the biological, it's also the cultural, the social, the experiential. What am I saying? I'm saying that it's a man's world. A woman's role historically has always been to be subservient, to be subordinate, right? Who wants to be treated that way? So if you are constantly being told you can't do these things, you're going to feel like crap. So women have it both bad in both ways, right? So they're thought of as weaker, not good leaders, right? And then on top of that, they have their own biology working against them. It's terrible. There. So it's not just the biology; it's also our social, cultural order of things. It's getting better. I'm not going to say it's not gotten better, but it has gotten better, but it ain't anywhere near close to even. Okay, so what are some symptoms of depression? Of course, depressed mood, reduced in interest in almost all activities. Maybe you used to like watch movies, reading books, play video games, whatever it is, go for a jog. Now you're like, eh. Sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Fatigue, low energy. And lastly, difficulties with concentration. Dog. My dog. Alrighty, let's stop here. I'll leave it up for another minute. Let's stop here. I'm gonna stop recording.